you guys? I am so excited to announce that we officially have merch up on bonfire.com. My store name is Brittany Jewel. If you want to rock one of these awesome one-of-a-kind designs, head on over there and you can get yourself a shirt, a sweater, a crew neck. There's like 9 options, all in 5 different colors, so a lot to choose from. Not only will you be helping spread awareness about Jessie's disappearance, all of this money raised, you guys, is going to the Genesis Project out of Seattle, Washington, and they help women and girls who are victims of sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. And they help get them into therapy, provide rehabilitation resources for them, and many other services. So it is an awesome, awesome cause. Head on over there if you would like to show some love. And please, if you do purchase something, send me a picture of it. It would warm mine and my family's heart so much to see you guys wearing that design. And yeah, go check it out. What is up, all you beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are discussing the disappearance of Patti Krieger. Patti went missing from Skagit County here in Washington State, and even though she has been missing for 10 years, we could help in some way. Let's share a picture of her, share this video, get some information out, because it takes one person's memory to be jogged from the day she went missing, and just one small piece of information to crack this case. Before we get into her disappearance, I want to welcome any newcomers to this channel. This entire channel is dedicated to missing people because my sister, Jessie Grace Moore, went missing from Wenatchee, Washington when she was only 23 years old. If you would like to hear more about Jessie's story, I will leave all those videos linked down below. I have made many, so go ahead and check them out. Also, please give this video a thumbs up because it is a free way that you can help the missing out. So let's talk a little bit about who Patti was as a person. So people who knew her thought the absolute world of her, you guys. She's described as being a devoted mother, a great friend, and Patti had worked at Fred Meyer for over 30 years, and she had a really close bond with her coworkers. And just all around, Patti seemed like a very wholesome woman and just the kind of person you would want to call a friend. Patti's husband, Jason, passed away in 2006, and this was incredibly difficult for Patti, considering Jason was her best friend and the love of her life. They were described as being extremely devoted to one another and having an idealistic marriage. Jason was a very ambitious man who owned a successful real estate business. So when Jason passed away, Patti inherited all of his assets, so she was well off considering that Jason had accumulated a lot of wealth during his life. After Jason passed away, a man named Larry Presley came into Patti's life. Larry called her from prison claiming he was a friend of Jason's and Jason had asked him to take care of Patti once he was gone. A little backstory on Larry: he was 45 years old at the time and definitely had a track record. He was a convicted felon with a violent history and was no stranger to the system. He actually had about 30 convictions at this point in his life. Larry was an associate of Jason's. I'm not exactly sure on the connection that the two had. There is no way of knowing if Jason asked this of Larry. It could be completely fabricated by him. But Patti began opening herself up to Larry, and after a while the two began seeing each other romantically. I think Patti was wooed by him at first, and she told her friends he was a great guy who treated her right in the beginning, but things started to shift after a while and Larry began taking advantage of Patti. For example, Patti had purchased a new Harley Davidson motorcycle and Larry would drive that thing around like he owned it. And at one point, Patti found a gun in one of the satchel bags on the bike. And remember, Larry is a convicted felon, so he's definitely not allowed to own a gun. And when Patti found this, she was upset, and rightfully so. I'm sure she felt betrayed. This was her Harley, and if Larry got caught with this gun, it could come back on her tenfold, so I completely understand why she was upset. Larry's disregard for Patti only continued though. Patti's home sat on some land, and Larry's friends pretty much just started taking it over to the point where some of them even moved their trailers onto her property. and they were just essentially squatting on her land. And at one point, Patti discovered a false wall in one of her sheds outside where a bunch of pot was being hidden like behind a wall. And I'm not sure in what order all of this stuff started occurring, but Patti was not in a good situation, you guys. She told her friends and family that Larry would often get angry with her when she confronted him about him taking advantage of her. She said he was even downright mean to her at times, and she felt like she was being used by him. Patti also confided in her friends and said that her and Larry had not been intimate because Larry was impotent. And this was a complete lie, and we know that because he has children. And also, come to find out, he was sleeping around with a bunch of other women when him and Patti were dating. In my personal opinion, I think Larry used Jason's death to prey on Patti. She was grief-stricken and wanted comfort during a very difficult time in her life. I mean, she thought her and Jason were going to grow old together, and that reality was slipped right out from underneath her. Larry knew she had inherited all this money, and he probably thought to himself, this is my chance to strike. I'm gonna lie to her about being impotent so I don't have to be with her in a romantic way, which is so cruel to do to someone, especially someone who is grieving. Everyone who knew the dynamic of Patti and Larry's relationship told her she needed to leave, she needed to get out. But Patti was scared to do so. A month before Patti would go missing, she told her coworkers she feared for her life. And those around her said she wasn't like herself anymore. It was almost as if she was shutting down and withdrawing. And it really seemed like Larry was taking Patti's light away. So now that you have a little backstory, let's go ahead and jump to October 2nd, 2010. Patti's Rottweiler bear, Larry, and 6 of Larry's friends decided to hike Sauk Mountain in Skagit County. Larry's parents had passed away months prior, and he wanted to go spread their ashes at the top of the mountain for a kind of ceremony. And that seems innocent enough, right? But Larry and his friends claimed that this whole ceremony upset Patti, and when they were heading back down the mountain, she split off from them because she wanted some time alone. Patti told them she would meet back up with them where the trail meets before the parking lot. I've also read in some articles that Patti started just walking down the wrong path, and the group was yelling at her to come back, but she couldn't hear them, and she just continued on with Bear. So that is important to note. According to Larry, they never saw Patti again. She failed to meet back up with them before the parking lot like she said she would. And who knows if they actually spent time looking for her and Bear, but they claimed that they did, and they said they yelled for her and they got no response. After looking for Patti for some time and yelling for her, the group decided to leave her and Bear behind. It is known that they stopped at a store, they got some snacks and some beer, and then about 4 hours later, they decided to call and report Patti as a missing person. The following day, when Patti failed to show up for work, her coworkers were incredibly worried for her safety and well-being. Patti was not the kind of person that just wouldn't show up for her job. They tried calling her, and when Patti didn't answer, her boss at Fred Meyer decided to contact her son, Alan. Alan then went to go check on Patti at her home and was greeted by guard dogs and a bunch of Larry's friends. So this whole situation is unsettling to him, and obviously we know that Patti was not at her home. I'm not 100% on this one, but either the police or Larry told Alan that Patti had gone missing the previous day while hiking. When Larry reported Patti as missing, he claimed he and his friends were Patti's family members. So that is why police hadn't contacted Patti's actual family the day she went missing. And can you imagine how pissed off you would be at this point? Your mom has been missing for a full day, and the people who know about it, A, don't contact you, and B, are not out looking for her. You guys, what was even sketchier was Patti's keys, ID, and cell phone were all in possession of Larry's friend. Now, these are items that are generally on a person at all times, but in my mind, the only reason someone else would have these items is if Patti put them in someone's pack before a hike. I know I will do that when I'm hiking if I don't have my own backpack to put my things in. or she could have potentially left these items in the car. I don't know how many cars they took, considering there were 8 adults and one 100-pound dog. I'm assuming there were 2 cars, but if they are telling the truth, they straight up left her with no cell phone and no way to get home. A huge formal search of Sauk Mountain was conducted, where Whatcom, Snohomish, and King County Search and Rescue all came together to do ground and air searches. They had helicopters with infrared imaging. They combed the area on foot for any trace of Patti. During the search, a cadaver dog was able to track Patti's scent up the mountain and down to the parking lot. The search for Patti and Bear lasted 2 full days, but there was no physical trace of either of them. The dog alerting in the parking lot led investigators to believe that Patti was no longer in the area and had actually left the mountain. Probably by car, because if she had left on foot, the dogs would have been able to follow her scent further. But during this time, Larry's behavior was sketchy to say the least. Larry was really upset that Patti's family was turning to social media outlets to help and locate her, which makes 0 sense to me. But at one point, he got so upset with one of her family members for starting a Facebook page for her, he was yelling at him. Larry was seen on numerous occasions driving Patti's luxury cars all around town, and he also refused to let her family into her home. Eventually, Patti's family was able to get a court order to enter her property, and they found that her home was completely trashed. There was garbage everywhere, beer bottles, trash thrown everywhere. Her safe had been gone through and money was taken out of it. The titles to all her cars were just laying around. This obviously concerned Patti's family, and they took the cars off her premises to a different location. And soon after this, there was a drive-by shooting to the area where the cars were being kept. They never found out who was responsible for the shooting, and it could be a total coincidence, but it seems unlikely in my opinion. 26 days after Patti went missing, her dog Bear was found on Sauk Mountain Road. He was malnourished and emaciated, but he was alive. And I can't imagine how scared he was being in the woods for 3 weeks with no food, probably no water, and then knowing something had happened to his mom. From what I've read, police tried to follow every tip that they received, but unfortunately they had little to no evidence to work with, and they have publicly stated that there is no evidence of foul play, and Larry has never been named a suspect in Patti's disappearance. Not even a year after she went missing, Larry got married to another woman, and then he got a different woman pregnant. Then shortly after this, he ended up going to prison for 3 years after his parole officer found a bunch of stolen weapons and full-on body armor in his home. Patti's son, Alan, was hoping Larry's friends would come forward when he went to prison and tell the truth of what really happened to Patti. Alan believes Larry, as well as his friends, know more than what they have told police, and he believes Larry was the last person to see Patti alive. Larry might be influencing his friends to keep quiet on what happened that day on Sauk Mountain. Larry was letting one of these friends live in his home while he was incarcerated, and he gave the other one a luxury car of his, and it does lead one to believe that Larry might be rewarding them for their silence. Also, one of the friends that was on the hike ended up taking her own life. I have no idea if this is related to any of that, but it is interesting to note. His friends have kept pretty tight-lipped on this and have stuck to the same story from what I know. And when Larry went to prison, no one ended up coming forward. Let's get into theories though. So obviously the most widely believed is that Larry had something to do with Patti's disappearance. This is what Patti's family believes, and with all of the information that they have, how could they not suspect him? And I think at the very least, he as well as his friends know more than what they have told police. But it is a possibility that Patti had gotten lost in the mountains. Patti was a marathon runner, so she was in good shape, but she wasn't an avid hiker or anything like that. It does not seem likely that's what happened, because search and rescue would have more than likely found her in that 2-day search of the area. Also, cadaver dogs are not 100% reliable, but they are pretty spot on most of the time. So the fact that they traced her scent to the parking lot has to be taken into account. which segues us into the next theory. So maybe the group is telling the truth and they really did just leave her on that mountain. Is a possibility that Patti found her way back and was picked up by someone who meant her harm. This would be a 1 in a million coincidence, but it is a possibility. Police had publicly stated they believe Patti was not on the mountain after the dog hit the main trail in the parking lot, but after Bear was found, they said it is a possibility she had been left there. But in my head, I'm thinking it would be so easy for someone who did something to Patti to go and leave Bear in that area to make it look like she was left on the mountain, if that makes sense. And if the two were together, Patti and Bear, I don't see any reason that they would separate. Another possible lead, Patti's family did receive a ransom email by someone named The Keeper, and they claimed to have Patti and wanted a certain amount of money for her. I don't know if Patti's family thought this was legit. Something like this has happened to my family as well, and we just completely wrote it off because it was sketchy. They got another lead that Patti was killed by Larry and buried at a certain location, but that area was searched and they didn't find anything. Patti's friends and family have done over 50 informal searches on Sauk Mountain and no trace of Patti has ever been found. After years with no answers, her family did decide to declare her as legally dead. Patti's story is so upsetting. I mean, here we had a great woman who was dealing with a lot emotionally, and she just got mixed up with a not so great guy. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but Larry and his friends' behavior and actions are suspicious in my opinion. Even if the group had just left her on that mountain, they should take some responsibility for her disappearance. I hope her family receives answers after all this time, no matter what the circumstances were. On the day of her disappearance, Patti was wearing a long-sleeved white shirt underneath a blue short-sleeved shirt. She also had on a black sweater that said Old Navy across it in red lettering. She was wearing blue jeans and sneakers and was also wearing a gold ring and a cross necklace. Patti has brown hair, hazel eyes, and was between 5'2" and 5'5" and weighed approximately 125 pounds. That is it for me today, you guys. Let's continue to share Patti's case and let's talk about this in the comments below. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you as always for watching my videos. It means the absolute world to me and to the families of the missing. I'll see you guys on the next one, okay?